All right, I'm Lorraine Pearsall. I'm calling the meeting to order. We're going to start right now with project reviews and of 7054 and 7056 Carroll Avenue. It's Sam, under Sam's name, Sam Kittner, and it's a rear fire escape. And if you could tell us a little bit about the project.
Try that. Well, thank you for having us tonight. We really appreciate you having us. And it's the rear of the two-story commercial building of the address that you stated. Mm-hmm. There's a fire escape on the back of the building. The fire escape is certainly had a long lifespan, and it needs to be replaced, is the first thing. So we're replacing the fire escape, and we would like to, instead of having kind of a very seemingly dangerous ladder system that if we ever truly had to use it would be a question mark itself, we're going to make, we propose to make stairs, right? So there would be stairs to the two first floor retail spaces, which are currently the CEO Rojo restaurant and the Salon Jam hair salon. And then there would be a stairs up to the second floor where there are two doors on that second floor, and there would be a span so that there could just be one set of stairs coming down from the second floor. So that's pretty much it, I think. If there would.
I have the plans, and then I can just cycle through the photos quickly if people didn't get a chance to see them.
Yeah.
You want to narrate or not?
That last photo was, that's an example of what the platform would be like, and maybe the treads too.
The
stairs.
platform.
The platform
Okay.
of the fire escape, the new platform, and then the
Okay.
treads on the stairs.
Like a catwalk.
Yeah, and allows the water and snow to fall through.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So this is the photograph that we have on the screen now. This is the area where you're proposing that this installation be.
Exactly. And
Okay.
and right now there's two separate fire escapes, as you can see, and there's going to be one upper platform and then two lower platforms.
One thing I want to point out is with Cielo Rojo, we had events going on up there.
It's
You'll
off.
see it
It's
on the-
turned off.
sorry.
Oh, here.
So I just want to point out that we are going around event.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of creativity going on with that upper floor deck on the left side. Just in case you had any questions about it.
Yeah, do you have a schematic looking at it straight on?
We have elevations.
Oh, that would be great.
I think if you go through slide, keep going, Roz. I think it was one of the first sets that we gave you.
Thought I saw them.
Copies. That's
Yeah.
existing. There, I got more.
Great.
There's two other sets.
Yeah, I think.
I think
Okay.
it is a part of that long PDF. That
Right.
email that I sent you.
And that's the interior. That's the bottom floor. There you go.
Can you rotate it?
That's the existing one. I think the next one is the elevation drawing. We looked at these things enough.
There's a rotate function.
Oh, that's okay.
There's a rotate. I saw a rotate icon.
Oh,
At
so
the top. Yep.
But that
Didn't
is the
work.
existing.
that's the existing one. So, right,
Yeah.
that's the
Yes,
existing.
Keep scrolling to the bottom towards the end. I think the second kind of half are the more proposed, right? There's pictures and then there's proposed.
Oh yeah, that's the.
after the plat. I mean,
I don't know. We've seen the plat a million times. Is that it? Lower level.
Yes. Keep going.
let's keep going.
There we go.
There you go.
That's it.
It's like, where's Waldo? Yeah. It won't rotate. It might be because it's like attached to all these different
Right.
emails.
It's like a string.
Right.
That's the
yeah,
real
that would
elevation.
address it.
Right.
That's the best one. Best view.
That would help Lorraine see it, I think.
Thanks. Yep.
Kind of sideways, but
Yeah.
What is the material that you're specifying that you're calling out here? Is wire cloth, but what is that?
Yeah, well, we've sort of done some ideas out there. Oops, sorry. Basically, the welded wire fabric, really.
if you
Maybe-
look,
maybe 1/8" diameter wire, so it's strong enough for lateral forces, but open, so it looks
Right.
real.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of transparent. And the material of the structure is carbon steel. And the platforms, the horizontal surfaces will be galvanized. We're not sure about the wire cloth. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I'll repeat. The main structure is going to be carbon steel. It's painted. And the horizontal surfaces, treads, and platforms are going to be galvanized steel. It's galvanized like an open grid. And we're looking at the railings, the railing body as being this the welded wire. Maybe it'll be galvanized. Maybe it'll be stainless. It might be painted. It might be might just leave it carbon steel and let it rust. Not sure.
Wire looks like.
That's partially going to be based on budget.
right.
And I'm looking at your proposed rear elevation, and you're also, you've got that same material wrapping those, what are now the existing kitchen exhaust ducts.
Yeah, that's an idea to help shield them from abuse from people bumping into them on the upper platform, and also to help screen them just visually
Yeah,
from the neighborhood.
They don't look so hot. If
They
in
don't look
those
so hot.
Photos, they
No.
really stand out. as-
Yeah, and they're very
Yeah.
reflective too. They're really.
Yeah.
It
And-
was a disappointment.
I took a picture. I took a picture in the morning sun, and I couldn't. I rotated around to see if I could. I couldn't get away from the reflection. It was so bright. It's kind of crazy.
That's a real
So
disappointment.
we want to screen it. It might be a tighter grid for the welded wire cloth, to help it be more screened, as opposed to the railing, which we want to be more open.
I mean,
And also there was a sketch I did, I mean a very crude sketch, of a gate that would be in the front, kind of covering this lower stairway, just to protect that whole back area from intruders and that. Yeah, there you go.
there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the idea is with this cloth, you can grow vines to kind of grow up it and like kind of hide the vent, just so that it's prettier on the backside. I mean, and one of the things we're hoping to do is like button up and make the backside of our building like a little more appealing. Right now, it's not, appealing. I mean, none of our neighbors have ever complained to us about it. But I don't know. We're both visual artists, so we like to improve it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys plan on placing seating back there at all for diners? Any of these locations?
It's
It's already tight. in there.
it's very, very tight. Cielo Rojo would love to have some sort of outdoor seating in back, and we have talked to them about it. It's pretty preliminary, and it's very, very early on. They haven't even been open for 6 months. But we don't see a way to make that happen for them. I mean, we've kind of explored like lots of creative ideas, and we actually own the garage in front of the fire escape, but there's really no way to, there's no creative way to get people from their restaurant space out to a seating area and back. I mean, if you guys have ideas, we'd be open to them. But,
No, I've worked with Rick in the past in my own house, and I know that if he can't figure out a way, it's not going to happen. So.
He's been really great coming up with, and I've been the one like tearing my hair out trying to figure out a creative way. But there's just, we've looked at all sorts of things for them.
I mean, there was one thought to, they'd have to reconfigure their newly built restaurant a little bit, but to have a doorway out the back and then use the roof of the garage as like a deck for seating. But that's much bigger investment.
Very theoretical, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Not related
Right.
to this project.
Yeah.
it would be phase 2. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Right. Definitely not now. And
Yeah, you just want to get the minimum fire escape built at this point.
right.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
So I
Rebuild.
guess right around those lines, though, when I think about potential outdoor seating in that area, I'm thinking safety. And when I think safety, I think
Correct.
about this wire mesh and how well does that hold up to, how fire resistant is that stuff in an actual fire? Will it melt or will it actually?
Well, the whole thing would melt. I mean, it's steel.
Okay.
I mean, the fire escapes are really meant to just get people out.
Okay.
They're not really meant to be fireproof.
In my experience, the wire mesh really does disappear. It's more transparent than, like, say, a picket
Right.
or something that you might do.
We didn't want to pick it.
Those are very visible.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the wire mesh, like what you selected,
Yeah.
really will just be more
Yeah, we hope so.
transparent and fade away.
And I was
So think
hoping-
that's a good
I mean,
choice there.
and one idea is to let it be carbon steel and just let it rust, and then it would match the brick. It would be invisible.
Character.
Character, exactly.
Yeah, that was the other question I had was what color are you gonna finish this in?
The structure?
Yeah. 'Cause you
It
mentioned
might
you were
be what
gonna
it is
paint-
now.
paint
Maybe
all the horizontal surfaces,
maybe a
basically.
brick red. I don't know.
Right now, the fire escape is painted to match the building. The building is a painted brick building. So I think that we would want it to recede rather than stand out.
I think that would be my
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that would be my preference. Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if it rusts, it looks like the paint.
Yeah.
Right.
Can delay maintenance. Little side benefit.
Yeah.
Right.
I would finish everything. I wouldn't, even for aesthetic purposes or reasoning, I wouldn't advocate for letting something rust,
Even the wire mesh.
even the wire mesh.
Okay. It was a thought. I think we'd probably go to galvanized or even stainless.
Because the rust will streak
Yeah.
down the face of
Right.
the rest of it, and it's
Yeah.
just, it'll look like rust. I mean,
Yeah.
I get the thought process behind it, but I'm afraid that the reality of rust will just look like
Yeah.
it's rust.
Well, the only thing that would really be stained, I think, would be the galvanized, but that's still a stain. I mean, what we don't want to do is do what's in the front of the place next door.
Travis Price.
Travis Price's, it's a
no,
painted
it's like
mesh.
somebody else's building now.
I mean, you got to paint it every year, it looks like. And trying to paint mesh is pretty impossible. So we're not going to paint it. Probably be galvanized
Okay.
for money. So,
Okay, but
Any more?
you are, I did understand you are, basically all the horizontal surfaces are getting painted.
no, the main structure is going to be painted. The platforms,
Right. so
the horizontal.
The stringers, and I'm thinking
Right.
everything you can see from the street, that's a horizontal. So the posts, the stringers.
You mean the vertical?
The posts and the stringers and,
Do I keep saying
what else?
horizontal?
Yeah.
I mean vertical.
oh,
Everything you see from the
The stairs or?
horizontal surfaces, I'm
Well-
assuming you can't see as much.
right. Well, yeah. I mean, the only thing that's galvanized is the platforms and treads. Sorry. Everything else will be,
Painted.
well, and the mesh probably will be galvanized, and everything else is going to be painted. Stringers, structure, gate structure, the newel posts, if you will, of the stairs would all be painted. Handrails.
So, how much further does it come out from where it is now? Not
Right now, it
Didn't seem
comes
very
out
much.
6 feet, and this is 5 feet further,
okay.
but just partially. It's not the whole thing doesn't come out 11 feet. The bottom platforms are actually a foot back from where they are now.
And I just want to be sure you did speak to your neighbor immediately next to you in that white house. We've had issues in the past where sometimes that didn't happen. I want to just say, if you haven't, talked to them. But I think you indicated you had spoken to
We-
your immediate next door neighbor.
Yeah,
who'd
they
be
came-
experiencing it.
They're really sweet people, and they come to our open studio when we do
Right.
it. And so we had told them that we were planning on doing it. We haven't showed them. Our idea is to meet with all of our existing neighbors and back and
Yeah.
show them what we're doing and give them an idea of the time frame, because there will be some disruption to their lives. I mean, what we understand the process being, and Rick, you can jump in, is that a lot of the welding will be off-site, and so they'll come and bring it in. I don't know,
Kind of assemble it on site.
They'll assemble it, but they'll do a lot of the work off-site and then bring big things. But there will be a point in time when we have to demolish the existing structure. And I don't know, will they get a scaffolding truck? Or, I mean, there was a talk about possibly needing
I think a small crane, maybe.
a crane, or something like that. So anyway,
Just to rent it
once
for
we
a few days, probably.
Yeah.
once we go through all of this process and get your advice and do everything, then we'll probably try to meet with everybody that it affects.
I'm less concerned about, there's always construction noise, and I think your neighbors will understand that. That won't be, it's
Right.
permanent visual changes that people sometimes react to. And this, to me, as I look at it, seems pretty unobtrusive. Nick, would you agree? I mean,
Yeah, I think if it's finished to match, I mean, one thing, it's not an exact replacement in kind because you're expanding it functionally, but you're certainly replacing it with something that's better from a functionality and a life safety standpoint than that
Correct.
ladder, which probably
Yeah.
is not meeting any code
It's not
right
useful.
now, but is existing, so
Yeah.
those things can happen.
Grandfathered, right.
So I think it's not an entirely new element, which is
right.
supportive.
Could you
It's
show
easy
a
to live with.
picture
And
of
if
the
the
win-
finish
of
of
the
it
house?
matches the finish
that?
of the adjacent building, I think that'll help it recede.
Recede,
Uh,
right.
It'll look pretty much like it does now in terms of color,
And
coloring.
then I think
Well,
your
maybe
choice,
improved,
your
but-
choice
Well, yeah.
for the infill is
Okay, that's a
another
one,
good
Roz. Thank you.
is selection of a material that will
Yeah.
again help it as opposed to some other things like I mentioned,
like
pickets or
baluster,
something that's more solid.
Mhm.
That wire mesh is going to help recede as well. So I think
Right.
those are all good choices.
Good.
I really appreciate the thought behind masking the exhaust duct work.
Yeah.
And it's not a challenge, it's just a question, is this the right way to do it? Will this do it effectively? Will the money you spent really mask it, or will it just be more stuff layered on top of the exhausts as they are?
Well, I think because it is going to be the same material and color as the fire escape itself, I think it's going to help mask it. And we would use a tighter grid on the wire mesh too, so
Okay.
to help it
Okay.
further.
We do have to put hinges on the masking so that there can be maintenance done and they can access that when they need to. But again, our hope is to grow some vines or something
Right.
like that to just not make it be so giant and ugly.
The thing that I would be concerned that you talk to your next door neighbor about is that because you're coming out further,
Correct.
and it is not a very obtrusive structure, but still you're coming out, it's hard for me to tell from this perspective, you know, if you're blocking a window, what is the view from your neighbor's side bay window going to be? And
Sure.
that worries me a little bit because sometimes, you know, your neighbors will all get noticed, and so you may have a very upset neighbor worrying about that.
Okay.
But so you should talk to them, and you know, you know, if you have to go back a little bit, or I don't know if you can in your design, but take that into account.
Not much.
Because that could be a concern. We're kind of a neighborhood group, and we've just
Sure.
we've run into, by experience, we've had some situations like that, and a lot of folks don't realize that they can come here and talk to us and share in the conversation. But so I'm a little uncomfortable. For that one neighbor, you should really talk with them. I think that's
Okay.
the most important thing. Your other neighbors, I don't see how they would be impacted, but your immediate neighbor,
Okay.
there could possibly be, but I can't totally tell from this perspective. So
There was a one photo that maybe we could see. There was, I think it was very beginning. That one. Actually.
okay, yeah,
That
let's
one.
go back.
You can see.
And maybe it's a lot further away
Mm.
than that other one looked
Mm,
a bit closer.
It's pretty far away.
I mean, I don't think the fire escape is going to be at the same level as their windows. It's not right now. Right.
It's sort of halfway.
I mean, it's not that beautiful to look out their window as it is, let's be real.
Yeah.
So
True.
I think it's only going to get better for them personally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just getting a little wider, but I think
cleaner.
Yeah, it will be.
Much better.
it will be.
And it's also not a super solid or anything, so I think it'll be pretty related to this side view that they have now, but
It'll look better.
yeah,
I
I
think.
think it'll look way better. And they do live right next to a commercial building, so it is a little different
True.
deal. But they're used to it because they've been living there for decades, so
True.
I think it's.
So-
But I think you make a good point to
They're-
talk to
they're
them,
your
and we have a
most important
rapport
people
with
to
them,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's
Biggest
okay.
impact.
And they seem pretty.
Good.
Yeah.
Mellow. I mean, just putting up with living next to the building, because we've had all the construction for the restaurant, and
Yeah.
there's the trash trucks, and there's just the reality of
Yeah.
you're living in the downtown commercial district, basically. So.
Right.
Yeah, I think if anything, maybe the olive branch approach would be to put maybe some wire mesh on there, maybe grow some type of flowering vine or something. Because from the other photo I saw, it looked like they were just looking at a dumpster out there, you know, which I think anything's better than that, especially if you're sitting there.
I mean, you could clad the entire.
The only thing I can see with that is they're going to lose some light, you know, in the evening. It looks like it hits right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the upper platform actually is pretty much in between the second and third floor windows,
Right. And
so it's not really. in
yeah,
front
it's
of
not, it's
anything.
not directly across from them, but honestly, I haven't paid attention to it. So it's a good,
Yeah, I noticed
it's a good thing to talk to them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're lovely people, and I wouldn't want to piss them off.
There you
So,
go.
you
Yeah.
know,
Right.
you know, and it
Long-
seems like we
long-time
could do
neighbors.
right, and we can do a couple of things to soften it. But I just really believe that what we have right now is aesthetically very unappealing, and so I think they'll be happy with it. But we can do things like soften it with plants.
Good.
And, you know,
Yeah. I mean, a wire mesh that goes from upper platform to lower platform on that side, you know, to grow plants on, that's kind of a nice
Yeah.
idea.
I think it's a nominal cost maybe just for that wire mesh.
Correct,
as well,
yeah.
so.
It's pretty
yeah.
cheap.
And I think our tenants would appreciate that. I mean, I think
Okay.
John would like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great, thank you.
Mhm.
How comfortable are you that the way you have it designed is the way that it'll ultimately be engineered?
I'm pretty confident that it's be engineered very close to that. I haven't talked to my engineer yet, but I'm familiar with his work. I think like 3-inch steel tubes for the main structure, C channels for the perimeter of the platforms, basic stuff, you know. I don't think it'll change much. I can't imagine. You know, steel's is a pretty efficient material, so I think slender pieces will be used, like 3-inch squares. Don't you think? Do you think that would be?
Do I think?
Yeah.
I
what do you
wouldn't
think?
know.
Okay.
I just know that sometimes what gets realized after the design intent phase, which is where you are,
Yeah.
can differ because
Yeah.
of engineering or because of just the way that whoever's chosen is
Yeah.
ultimately the contractor wants to accomplish
Right.
the design of the structure. So one of the things that we're doing here as the board is trying to suss out, okay, well, how real is this? You know, we're going to grant an approval or an approval with recommendations.
Right. Right.
How much do we understand the
Right.
reality of what this is representing? So that's where this line of questioning.
Based on my experience with steel construction, which is not extensive, I do residential, but I've worked with enough steel that I think 8 to 10 inch high C channel at the perimeter of the platforms is probably going to be, I would say, 95% chance that's what it'll occur. 3-inch steel square columns and pipe rail, basically, and C channels for the stringers, and so I'm if it differs, I think it would be very minor differences.
Well, and also we've had 3 bids on this, and no one has said anything about having to change it or make modifications because of their concerns
Okay.
or whatever. So I think that
That's a good
Yeah.
response.
yeah.
And it's a good
Yeah.
question. I mean, you know, because it hasn't been engineered yet.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
so
I know how
yeah,
things can change.
things can change. It's true.
So we want to make sure that what you're representing
Yeah.
is as close to what
Certainly.
is actually built
Certainly.
as
Sure.
anybody could
Yeah.
reasonably.
Yeah,
expect.
and if it differs, I don't think it will. But if it differs, we could bring it before you guys and have you look at it, the final
Right.
shop drawings or whatever.
Right.
And your neighbor.
Right.
I think the neighbor will be called probably this evening. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
On notice for calling the neighbor.
Right. They'll be happy because I
Yeah.
just got back from Portugal, so they'll
Oh,
be
really?
happy.
Oh,
They'll like that.
And you have room for all the, it looks like you have room for all the foundation.
Yeah, that's the one. That's probably the one area that.
That won't cause you
No.
to have to go back and
No.
redesign because you
No.
couldn't physically get in to
The
take
only
something out.
the only question mark. Can you go back, Ross? Actually, right there. The only question mark
Yeah.
is my intention is to bear the 3 steel posts on the top of the wall on a steel beam, so that we don't have to go down to the ground, and we may have to reinforce that wall, but to spread the load on that back wall instead of a point load, which would have to go all the way down to the
And you said you own that building, right?
Correct.
yeah.
Okay.
So, just for the record, the auto mechanics primary property at the corner of Tulip and Carroll, but that 2-car garage.
The garage, right.
Is part of our
re-
property and has for decades and decades, way before we owned the property, always been utilized by the mechanic.
Right. Okay.
Right.
I just
And-
wanted to clarify, you're
Yeah.
proposing a modification to
Yeah.
a structure that
Yeah,
you owned.
yeah, right. Yeah,
That could-
that was important, right? Yeah,
Right.
important. Now, one thing of note, it may not matter to you all, but there's a small CMU little protrusion on the back that's going to have to be demolished. So, just for the record, just to make room for circulation back there.
So Rick, are you saying that you're going to be putting a support beam along the back of the building to attach? Did I misunderstand
Oh,
you, or-
oh no! What I was
Okay.
referring to is the outer support is going to be on the back wall of the auto
I see.
auto repair.
I gotcha.
At the back of the Kittner's building, it's going to be some kind of steel channel that'll be
Great. Okay.
bolted to the brick.
Okay.
Mhm.
So does the board want to make a
Yes.
resolution?
So, how are we feeling about the project? Are we all in favor?
Lorraine, will you use the mic, please? Or, yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, okay, I'm sorry. So, shall we vote on this? And are we all in favor? Any recommendations or?
Well, I don't personally have any further questions. I think everything that I had questions on was resolved. Does anybody else have any further questions at this point before we
No.
go forward? Okay.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion then that we approve the application as it's submitted with some clarifications, qualifications to it. One of them being that the paint finish for all of the steel elements, with the exception of the wire mesh, that those will be painted to match the building.
Of course.
There was a recommendation made that you seem to be in agreement with, contingent, I think, with talking to your neighbor about it, which was that along the, we'll just call it Plan East
Right.
portion, that you put a mesh in there for the purpose of growing of vines or a green wall kind of an effect there. I don't think that's to me, I didn't understand that as being mandatory to our approval. I don't know if anybody's opinion of that differs, but I didn't
I
understand
think
it
it's
as
a
being
nice thing
mandatory,
to, I
but
think it's nice
something
to put in, yeah.
consider, and if it helps your conversation with your neighbor, that might be something
Sure.
that works out nicely for both of you. What other elements?
I think
have you
that's,
commented There's the color.
Mhm.
I personally, I feel comfortable that what you've represented in these drawings will match to a reasonable extent what gets engineered.
I think.
I would say if you find out during the course of the engineering that something is going to differ substantially, that I would recommend that you come give
Sure.
us an update
Sure.
on what that is for evaluation.
Sure.
Might ask them to engineer something differently if they add some trusses or something.
Yeah, I'm going to ask them to
that's-
engineer it to
that's
my
different.
drawings, basically.
So just so that we keep that under
Yeah,
control
sure.
as much as
Yeah,
Sure,
absolutely.
can be
Yeah.
expected.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that you get what you want as much
Yeah.
as the
Right.
neighborhood gets what we're seeing here.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the only other element I think that there's comment on is the screening element of the grease exhaust ducts.
Mhm.
How do we feel about that? Do you
Of
think
the-
do you think it's effective?
Do you mean of the vent? Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying?
They're proposing to put a wire mesh shield or screen around what are now the exposed kitchen exhaust ducts from the restaurant tenants, which go out the side of the building and then up to the roof, over the top of the facade, which isn't aesthetically very
Right.
appealing.
Are those ducts, do they give off a lot of heat, or are they double walled already? And they're just sort of,
I think they're insulated. They look insulated.
They're
Okay.
insulated, they don't give off, and they used the, on one of them, which is receding, they use the metal that naturally rusts. There's,
Really?
I forget what it's called, carbon, something
Uh-huh.
weird. But, so it's receding, but the big one that glares when the sun hits it just right, that's just
yeah, it is what it is.
aluminum,
Yeah.
you know?
It's like aluminum
It's
foil.
really- Yeah,
Mhm.
it's really, it glares a lot.
I don't know if this is correct, but I think that one might be the one that has tons of insulation
Yeah.
Yeah.
around it, and that's a wrapping around the insulation.
I think
I don't know if that's
it'll dull
correct,
over
but-
time, but currently it's
Because I remember during
Right.
construction, there was a
go
big
back. Yeah.
insulation
Right.
process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the county made them, originally they were gonna put this on the side of the building so that it was hidden, but the county made them put it there,
In the back.
which was a disappointment for us. And you can't paint that. Apparently the
Really?
paint will fleck off.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, sure.
The rectangular one
Yeah.
is the one that's insulated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exposed insulation with a weather covering on
Right,
it.
right.
That's why
Correct.
it's so shiny. It's
Yeah.
shinier than even the one,
Right.
the round
Right.
one next to it,
Right.
which is
And
probably the one that's gonna
The
sort of
round one
rust
next
too.
Yeah.
to it is the
Yes.
one that's
A
starting
brown.
to rust.
Yeah.
Yeah, with all the rain we've had, it's starting to get that nice patina on it.
Nice word for rust.
Yeah.
Oh, I love patina. Are you kidding me? That's like, you know, it looks
Yeah.
good.
I'm in agreement with the mesh covering. I think anything to kind of subdue that is helpful. And then, like you said earlier, you're thinking about growing something up there. I don't know if it'll survive, but with the air quality
Yeah.
around there.
Right.
But hey, you know,
It smells good up there.
right.
Smells like tacos.
Right.
Okay, so
So-
I'd add, and I'll just close out.
One
my
question,
motion. Go
this
ahead.
will be high enough to hide it totally, Rick, on the top? It seems that way.
It'll go to the,
Indicate
basically the
pretty
top
much
of
It'll cover it.
yeah.
The house.
It'll look
Especially
so
from
much,
below.
It'll look so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you grow plants on it, it'll look cool.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay, so I'll close out, after that discussion, I'll close out my motion to say, also including the proposed screen of the kitchen, the existing kitchen exhaust ducts on the exterior of the building, understanding that it'll be a tighter mesh that's than used for the railings
Yep.
to
Yep.
help with its purpose, which
Yep.
is to effectively screen
Yep.
that ductwork.
Yep.
And so those are all the pieces to my motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second your motion.
Yeah. Same here. I think bottom line is safety. I think as long as we have something there to get people out, to be able to egress safely in the event that there's a fire, that's great. And if you can make it aesthetically pleasing, even better.
Yep.
But I think it needs it, especially because you guys are cooking and stuff in there, so it needs it. You know, God forbid someone dies in a fire.
Right.
Yeah.
And getting down from the current ladder is very
Yeah.
Yeah,
precarious.
yeah, that's dangerous.
Before you
So-
vote, I
Fair
just
enough.
want to
Yeah.
read it back and make sure I got.
Okay, go ahead.
So the motion is to approve the application as submitted
Yeah.
with the condition that the paint finish for all steel elements, with the exception of the wire mesh, be painted to match the building. So that's one. Two is the proposed screening of the kitchen exhaust ducts with the tighter mesh to effectively screen it. Or I should say the proposed kitchen exhaust ducts screened with tighter mesh. And then, did you want it as a, so those would be conditions, and then as a recommendation that the Plan East portion, the mesh with the vines and green wall, So the conditions would be the paint and the
Right.
screening of the vent,
Correct.
and then an additional
Yeah,
recommendation.
and talking to the next door neighbor.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
Right,
mean, if nobody wants the plants, I guess that's okay.
yes,
It's a
sorry.
nice idea. I mean,
I mean, it's a nice idea.
it's a nice
Oh, I
idea.
think
So, I'm
Vines go
sorry.
anywhere.
Yes, so
Yeah.
the,
Right.
maybe I didn't read it all. The recommendation then would be along the Plant East portion mesh for vines and the green wall if acceptable to neighbors, what I had written. Okay, got it?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, you want to call a vote?
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Motion passed.
So just so you know, I will do a letter to HPC tomorrow. I'll send it to you and to them together. So everybody will have the same thing, and it will just be essentially, it will be exactly this motion. I'll try and clean up my language a little bit on it.
Yeah.
And I will also include the Nick's caveat that if, in the course of the engineering, something changes, that you come back. Okay?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Great.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Talked about in January, I don't remember. Never mind,
So-
let's
so-
approve the minutes.
So just, yeah, I
We
agree.
can wait and
Let's
do
just
them next
approve
time.
them.
As a
Yeah,
as a
it's fine.
process, though, how does this? We're not the only ones who are doing this. This is certainly different from when I was last on the board.
Yeah. It is
How
a
are
bit.
the other groups
That's a good question.
dealing with this in terms of general process? I mean, nobody's going to go back and watch the video to watch what they were in to then
Right.
approve the video they just watched of themselves and
So-
everyone else.
So let me
right?
pull it up.
So there's
I'll
something
just-
out, there's something we're missing in how you do this new technology version of minute review.
So I'll just pull up the last, I don't post the minutes online until the boards approve them. So the last minutes that we have up are from last summer. So let me just show you what they look like. And then the link in the far right column, oops. Let's just try that again.
So it seems like what we're reviewing now to vote on approval of is that the agenda is still accurate to what the meeting was that we
So-
were in.
So this is what the
Alright.
And
last,
that the motions are accurate to
Or-
what
right,
the content of the meeting
Right.
was. Those are the two things we're reviewing
yeah.
for.
Who-
Okay.
Who's there?
It's no longer
Does the
the,
agenda change?
the-
Or yeah,
But
more
with it-
minutes kind of, traditional minutes kind of
that's right.
review.
But maybe
Okay.
we should have the motions shown or something? I
So you
don't
can
know.
see it here. This was the last July meeting.
Yeah,
And
And
who
that's for Jan-
attended, the approval of the previous minutes, the project review, so it doesn't give all the discussion the board has on a project review. It just gives the bare facts of
The
the
vote.
applicant, the address, and then the board action.
Mhm.
so there was
Okay.
no board action probably for this meeting, the last meeting that we went to, which was what, January 8th?
We can go back and check the,
Maybe we should
Agenda.
just say that, no board action or
I
something.
think you're right, because I think that we.
It might be helpful. But without a little summary, it's not really minutes. I'm not sure what it is, but it's not minutes.
Well,
Right.
I guess the minutes is, the minutes is
we do
to
this?
try to provide some kind of recordation of what happened.
Right.
And their contention is now that everything is videoed, there's your record. So you don't really need to do traditional minutes anymore because you have the video of the whole thing.
Except if there was a motion, I think it would be good to show it, right?
It is
Or-
shown, so
Yeah.
that's what do you have the screen in front of you
Yeah.
still? So this is the July minutes, and there was a project review, and the
Right.
motion is shown. The board passed the following resolution.
Right. But for January 8th, there's nothing shown but the link.
Right, and so on that.
Was there no motion
There
at
was
all?
there wasn't a project review for
Okay.
January.
So you know what
This
might
is
be
the
helpful,
agenda.
just to state that in the future when there's no project review, no motion, or,
As
No board
in
action?
the minutes?
yeah, something.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so,
Sure.
because it's a little hard to understand that as a link as minutes. I
Yeah,
understand what you're
so-
saying, but it's just,
So the gap is that the video gets posted probably tomorrow, pretty much right after the meeting.
Right.
But the minutes don't get posted until the board's approved them. And so there is that very bare bones sort of agenda / minutes that gets posted, but I can include that in them, that there was no project review.
so but this gets posted right away, whatever this audio,
Yeah,
right?
the video recording.
So it's not really the minutes because there's a difference in time. Okay.
Yes.
I think we need to think about that one a little bit.
Well, that was my question. How's everybody else dealing with it?
So you mean other
The other-
council-appointed committees?
Yeah.
We're the only ones doing the video recording.
Okay.
Don't you make the tree commission, or who, you have regulatory boards, or?
I
we're just
don't think they
advisory?
record their meeting. I mean, they do minutes, but
Yeah.
I don't think they have the video.
Huh.
I don't know that now. Maybe that's changed since I last checked, so I'll look
Yeah.
again and see.
Okay.
Okay. So we're really just being asked, what we're being asked to do is approve, I mean, the minutes was that we're approving that we think the record is straight, right?
Right.
That's what we were
Right.
doing.
Right.
And now they're keeping the records a little bit differently. Part of that's a video, which is pretty hard to argue with whether that's accurate or not, unless Roz is editing them
Yes,
with whatever that technology is.
secretly.
So it's really just the summary,
Yeah,
the piece that we're reviewing, and that contains any motions that we voted on,
right,
as well as just the agenda of the meeting itself.
right.
Right. And that's summarized at the bottom. It's not something that we're just sort of defaulted to the video to go and find out on.
Right, so I can't pull up
Maybe we
my
just don't.
Just in
have
case the
minutes.
video isn't
documents.
working.
So there is something that looks like this July one for
Yeah.
our last minutes that looks, it's the agenda and anything added to it that was a decision.
Okay.
But what we lose in this, but I think gain in the video, is the nuance of the full discussion. So
Right.
there have been times in the past, especially on a complicated, messy,
Yes, I
possibly
agree.
contentious one, where it's very difficult for me to capture in the notes
Yes.
that discussion. And so the video gives us that.
I agree. Yeah, it's
So
good. Well,
it's a trade-off.
yeah, so just a clue, maybe there was no board action. Or
Yeah, I
no-
can add
That
that
would
in.
simplify, because it just looks a little awkward to just have a link there for an adoption, because it's not really minutes. So that would be helpful.
Maybe I need to change my terminology, because sort of what we have
Yes.
is notes
I
with
know.
the video.
I think minutes
so-
doesn't seem like.
I'll talk to
maybe
the city
we're not
clerk.
real- Yeah, think about it. Let's
Yeah.
think about what to call it.
Okay. All right. Do
Good.
you want to vote?
So we can,
approve 'em or wait till next time?
Shall we, let's adjourn.
Okay.
Are we good with that?
Yes.
Okay, I call the meeting adjourned.
Thank you.